America, six ways to truly create a climate change resilient industry. Yes, indeed, it is true. As you know, the Earth continues to warm, and as we as a country and as a global world try to deal with the fact that, you know, the polar ice caps are melting, sea levels are rising, you have extreme temperatures, extreme heat, you have extreme cold, you now have more earthquakes and volcanoes, and all that sort of interconnected to the fact that we don't do a good enough job of taking care of our planet. Let's be very real about that. And you know, there's some out there who believe that climate change doesn't really exist. But here's a couple strategies to help us sort of turn the tides on this. Strategy number one is a strategy to curb methane and black carbon, right? Methane and black carbon are supercharging global warming pollutants. The two of the biggest sources of these pollutants are natural gas and diesel, respectively. Now, as a nation, we've increased our demand on natural gas, and the Department of Energy will be working with the EPA to update the greenhouse gas inventory. So that's one thing we could do. We've got to sort of slow that down. Congress, and there's also calls on Congress, which are called basically, it's like talking to a wall if you want to talk to Congress, get anything done. And what that will do is that will fund the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act, which will help curb black carbon, the key contributor to rapid warming in the Arctic Circle. And the second thing we could do is a utility-led discussion on climate change resilience. Among the White House's executive actions announced alongside, you know, the larger sort of what can we do to curb emissions. One thing that the conversation that we begin to have is bringing together the 17 big utility companies, including Pacific Gas and Electric, Dominion, Virginia Power, and Exelon, to talk about how we can ensure electric services are increased as an increased instance of extreme weather like drought and water and you know, heat wave, and how, you know, we don't disrupt the supply chain because we have these sort of extreme temperatures, and that causes a spike in energy, right? So when you have when it's really, really hot, everybody's spiking on their air conditioning. When it's really, really cold, everybody's spiking on their heat, and those impact the globe as well. Now, the other thing is energy upgrades in rural America. Now, you know, major investments in solar energy in the rural parts of the country, a key infrastructure like transmission lines and smart grids to sort of decrease the amount of wasted energy, you know, and I think that's a really important thing because people don't think about that. Like when you have to run power lines from far places to other far places, that is a loss of energy. As energy is moving, it's losing energy as it moves, and you have to have energy to move the energy. So, and that all contributes to more waste and more energy, you know, the negative output from utility energy. Now, there's also been more calls on Canada and the United States to work together. Natural gas resources, pipelines, transmission lines, so the pollution because the pollution doesn't stop on our borders. The pollution continues both to the north and to the south of us. So as a world, we've got to work together. And those are just a couple of things that we can do to make sure that we as Americans are doing everything in our power to curb the effect of carbon emissions.